Hello, you beautiful individuals. We are back after, I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a while. Anyway, today's today we're doing something different. Like very different for me at least. Normally when I, react to something or, watch something and basically make fun of how dumb it is, it's usually science based. Some form of something to do with science. This, however, has to do with history. And see, I absolutely love science, pretty much anything and everything to do with it. And I also am a huge fan of history. Now, I would say, me personally, I'm better, I guess, or understand history a little better or know a little more about it than science, but still, obviously, in no way an expert. Now, when it comes to history, American history is what I'm most knowledgeable about, especially local history, as in, the local area I grew up and live around, Ohio in general. The reason I'm saying this is because there is a YouTube channel that I absolutely love watching called Vlogging Through History. I will, of course, have him linked in the description below. And he's also a fellow Ohioan. And he also does reactions. Normally, his reaction, or I wouldn't even call them reactions really, because basically he watches, videos that have to do with some kind of historical premise, usually, and he either, adds more information to it or corrects things or whatever. Um, and he's also like ranked like, movies that are historically accurate and ones that aren't. And he also does do really cool stuff like go to actual, battle sites, and he does all sorts of things. It's a great channel. You should watch it. The reason I'm saying that is I watched him, or well, I was starting to watch him cover this video right here. This what I can only assume is going to be just a collection of idiotic statements and words. So I made it, I'm not even kidding you, 2 minutes and like, I don't know, 15 seconds into his video because it's not because of this dude, Tucker Carlson. It's because of who he's interviewing. Said some crazy thing. Well, I mean, you'll see it, but basically along the lines of Winston Churchill was the chief or the main villain of World War II, which is just obviously ridiculous. Not Hitler, no, not Stalin, Winston Churchill. And look, I'm not saying Winston Churchill was, some saint, obviously. Like, the dude has made plenty of mistakes. And, he wasn't perfect. But to try to somehow claim, I don't, anyways, we'll get into it more as we watch this. Just one little quick disclaimer. I am in no way political. All right. I don't care at all about politics. And the only reason I'm saying this is because when it comes to Tucker Carlson, obviously he is fairly political. And usually when you say his name, people can get a little riled up about politics. And I just don't care about politics. Now, if you want to have discussions of politics in the comments below, go right ahead. I'm obviously not going to stop you. Say whatever you want in my comment section. Consider my comment section the place that you can feel free to say anything and everything. I will never delete your comment. Now, maybe YouTube might. I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but as far as I'm concerned, like, anything you want to say, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. I've even had to approve comments before because apparently YouTube, I don't know, they get all weird about certain things being said. That being said, let's try not to be too ridiculous about it. I mean, I would prefer, no racist crap and all that, but again, I truly do believe in free speech. So And when you do, you got to take the good with the bad. So, if you do want to post that kind of stuff, I guess go ahead. I'm not going to delete it, but again, I can't stop what YouTube does. Anyway, all that out of the way, let's just dive right into this. God, whatever this is going to be. I mean, like I said, I only made it about 2 minutes in, and that was with, vlogging through history covering it. So I don't even know how far into this actual video he was in at that point. But anyway, let's get to it.
I'm American. I'm not English, so I don't have any weird motive in asking this. But how would you assess Winston Churchill?
I got in trouble with my podcast partner, Jocko Willink, one time because he's a New England Dutchman whose his family, it's near and dear to, they're Dutch, but very near and dear to their heart that Winston Churchill is a hero, right?
Well, everyone
thinks that. He really thinks that. And I told him that I think, and maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic, maybe, but I told him, maybe trying to provoke him a little bit, that I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War.
Right there. So 35 seconds in this video. It was about 2 minutes and something in vlogging through a history's video because, he had the intro and all that stuff. That's where I stopped. Because as soon as he said, Winston Churchill, the chief villain, that doesn't even make sense. Even if you're not going to say Winston Churchill was a hero, he's the chief villain from over Hitler. And just so you people know who aren't as familiar with, World War II history, which is completely fair, Winston Churchill wasn't even prime minister when Hitler kicked all that off. When he invaded Poland, Winston Churchill was not prime minister yet. He didn't become prime minister till I want to say it was in the spring, I think, of 1940. I don't remember what month exactly. I think it was late spring 1940, and Hitler invaded Poland in 1939, and even before that, he was, he invaded Czechoslovakia, however you say that. Sorry if I butchered that. I'm not great with words. And what else? He invaded. Anyway, it's not the point. The point is, Winston Churchill clearly not the chief villain. Sorry. Let's just keep going. And no, hold on. All right. To be fair, let's talk about some of Winston Churchill's weaknesses. Because, the dude did have some weaknesses. He wasn't perfect. Guess what? Nobody is. Especially world leaders. They have a lot to deal with. He was not great economically. But to be fair, there was a world war going on. Kind of hard to be. I don't know. He wasn't he wasn't the best strategically, especially in battles. If you during World War I, he had some mishaps there. He was he was never ever basically willing to admit defeat, which you could kind of look at as a good and bad thing, but it definitely caused a lot of his men to die from, basically not just, instead of saying, hey, let's retreat and regroup, and he's like, screw that, let's keep going. But no, I don't know, it doesn't matter. The point is, he still was not a villain, and especially not the main villain of World War II. I don't know, and again, I don't know who this dude is. So if somebody in the comments would please let me know who this gentleman is. I don't know. Is this Hitler's great whatever grandson or something? And that's why he's trying to defend him? Is he some kind of Nazi dude? I know. I'm just being ridiculous and a little insulting. But seriously, how do you... I don't understand how you see Adolf Hitler and Winston Churchill and go, oh yeah, Churchill. Yeah, he was way worse.
Now, he didn't kill the most people. He didn't commit the most atrocities. But I believe, and I think when you really get into it and tell the story right and don't leave anything out, you see that he was primarily responsible for that war becoming what it did, becoming something other than an invasion of Poland.
Well, no. No. What are you talking? Okay, okay, okay. So so now, I mean, I at least you admit, I suppose, that he wasn't, he obviously didn't cause as many people to die or commit as many atrocities, even though I gotta say that's pretty villain-like behavior. He's not the reason World War II became what it was. Like, it, even if you take Churchill out of the equation, Hitler wasn't going to stop. Like, Hitler had plans to. I mean, if Hitler had his way, he probably would have taken over the dang world. Like, what are you on about? Like, yes, at the time he was mostly focused on, the Soviet Union and like Poland and stuff. But you need to remember that I don't remember what countries exactly. I want to say UK, France, and I don't remember who else. They had a treaty with Poland that if Germany was to attack, they were gonna defend them. So what do you like? How are you gonna blame this on? This video is gonna make me extremely angry. And just saying another little thing. I'm actually Polish. Not that that really matters, but or I should say my family is. My great grandfather, I think it was, or something, came over during all that nonsense that was going on in World War II. And again, not that that really matters, but this is going to make me furious. I can already tell.
Or just, I mean, at every step of the way, like people are very often, I find, surprised to learn. There's a two-step process.
Well,
right?
why don't you just make the case for that? Okay, so you've made your statement. A lot of people are thinking, well, wait a second. You just said Churchill, my childhood hero, the guy with the cigar.
Yeah. Well, and the next thought that comes into their head is that, oh, you're saying Churchill was the chief villain, therefore his enemies, Adolf Hitler and so forth, were
Stalin,
the protagonists, right?
Yeah.
That they're the good guys if you think he's a villain. That's not the case. That's not what I'm saying.
No, and that's not what people are thinking you're saying. At least I hope not, because if that's what people are thinking, then they're dumb too. But no, it's not the point. You're saying that even though, yes, Hitler and Stalin and them were villains, you're saying Churchill was somehow worse. He was somehow more of a villain and and basically was the reason World War II turned into what it was. Like, what do you think? You think if Churchill was just gone, boom, never existed, Hitler would have taken over Poland, taken over the Soviet Union, and then stopped? Like, is that really what is going on in this pea-sized brain in that thick skull of yours?
Germany, look, they put themselves into a position, and Adolf Hitler is chiefly responsible for this, but his whole regime is responsible for it, that when they went into the East in 1941, they launched a war where they were completely unprepared to deal with the millions and millions of prisoners of war, of local political prisoners and so forth that they were going to have to handle. They went in with no plan for that. And they just threw these people into camps, and millions of people ended up dead there. You have
Okay, there's so much wrong with this. For one, 1941. So we're just ignoring the 2 years previously, or a few years previously, of all the atrocities he committed, and also the things with throwing the Soviet Union soldiers into camps and he just didn't know what to do with them. Okay, Hitler, let's just get this straight. Obviously, horrible, despicable, disgusting human being. That being said, he was actually a very good strategist. Like, he was not dumb. He knew what he was doing. The reason he didn't care, as you put it, or didn't, or well, no, you put it, he didn't know what to do. The reason he didn't care about those Soviet Union soldiers or prisoners of war is because there was no Geneva Convention protecting them. It didn't matter to him. He was worried about, so when Hitler, or his regime, would capture soldiers, say from France or England or later on America, that he had to worry about because they were protected by the Geneva Convention, and not following that could lead to even more retaliation from them. He was focused on the East at that time. He was trying to dismantle and take over the Soviet Union, who was not protected by the Geneva Convention. So millions, yes, millions of prisoners of war from the Soviet Union were were not only killed, but basically were let to rot because it didn't matter. And and he just didn't care because he was a disgusting and evil human being. He was a villain. And that's the thing. The reason he was so concerned about, you know, prisoners of war that were protected by is because he was intelligent. He did not want to fight a war on both fronts. He was at that time focused on the East, and that's what he wanted to focus on. So if he could avoid fighting the West, you know, France, England, and eventually America, then he was going to do that because obviously he knew he couldn't win if he was fighting them all. Like why are you acting like you're acting? He's almost acting like Hitler was. Look, I understand that Germany was in a really, really tough place, and I don't want this to like seem like I'm attacking the German people by any means, because they were just trying to rebuild their country, and I understand that. Hitler, though, was obviously evil and a villain, or evil person and a villain, and he didn't give a crap about any of that. He just wanted power. He just wanted to expand the empire. He wanted to make it as big as possible. That's all he cared about. He didn't even give a crap about the German people. Not most of them, only his, specific Aryan race or all whatever. Like, what this dude is just, I've never wanted to reach through a computer screen more and break somebody's nose as I do to this man right here.
You have like letters as early as July, August 1941 from commandants of these makeshift camps that they're setting up for these millions of people who are surrendering or people they're rounding up. And so it's 2 months after, a month or two after Barbarossa was launched. And they're writing back to the high command in Berlin saying, we can't feed these people. We don't have the food to feed these people. And one of them actually says, rather than wait for them all to slowly starve this winter, wouldn't it be more humane to just finish them off quickly now? And so this is like 2 months into the invasion, right?
And yeah, actually, that would have been more humane. But guess what? They didn't do that. Most of the prisoners of war from the Soviet Union died from, starvation, disease, and just basically rotting away. They did not die in humane ways because Hitler and his regime did not care. There was nothing protecting those prisoners of war to where there had been a retaliation from, another country or a group of countries. So that's just a moot point right there. I don't know why you even brought it up. This guy is a moron. I don't know who, and now look, I don't know much about Tucker Carlson. I mean, I've seen clips of him, obviously. Like, I know who he is, kind of, and I've seen him in interviews or like conduct interviews before. I mean, I'm in no way like a fan, but I don't necessarily have anything against him, I suppose. I don't really know much about him. But I feel like in the clips I've seen, like, he's usually, not afraid to like challenge people and kind of like fight back and be like, dude, what are you talking about here? But so far, this guy has said nothing. I mean, we're still only a couple minutes in, but why are you not challenging him on this? This is basic information.
And like my view on this, I argue with my Zionist interlocutors about this all the time with regard to the current war in Gaza. Look, man, like maybe you, as the Germans, you felt like you had to invade to the east. Maybe you thought that Stalin was such a threat, or that if he launched a surprise attack and seized the oil fields in Romania, that you would now not have the fuel to actually respond and you'd be crippled and all of Europe would be under threat, and whatever it was that like maybe you thought you had to do that. But at the end of the day, you launched that war with no plan to care for the millions and millions of civilians and prisoners of war that were going to come under your control. And
that is such bull. What? For one, no, he had all of this planned out. Not only did he have all this planned out, he had plans on plans on plans and backup plans. Hitler made it so he actually had plans in place to make it so it would seem like France and England and them attacked him, and he like, he was just the poor, oh, innocent me. Like, this guy, he wasn't, again, he wasn't an idiot. He was an intelligent man. He was a very good strategist. And no, you are just completely and utterly wrong. He knew exactly what he was doing when he went into the East, and he knew exactly what he was going to do with all those prisoners of war. He was going to let them die, because that's less soldiers for them, for the East, to come back and attack them with. Like, what are you talking about? He didn't, why? I'm just so confused. Like, he's like, at one point, at one thing, he's trying to make it seem like, oh, Hitler somehow isn't as bad as he was, but then also making it seem like he was just some, dumb buffoon who got thrown into this position and did the best he could or something. Like, no, he was an evil man who wanted to eradicate not just Jewish people, but a slew of other groups of people, including people in the Soviet Union. And he wanted to make this perfect race, this massive empire, and eventually his plans were to go global. Like, if he had it his way and somehow was able to pull it off, he would have freaking taken over the entire planet. Like, he was a power-hungry lunatic.
millions of people died because of that, right? And you can look at it and say, like, well, yeah. So get back to your main question about Churchill. If you go to 1939, when the Germans and the Soviet Union invade Poland, as soon as that war's wrapped up on the German side, Hitler starts firing off peace proposals to Britain and France because they had already declared war. He didn't expect them to declare war, actually.
Yes, he did. Because Poland had, what are you talking about? England and France had a treaty with Poland, that an agreement, whatever, that if the Soviet Union and Germany were to invade, they would defend them. And you are so full of everything. And the only reason he sent those pamphlets to say, oh, let's have peace now, is because he wanted France and England to back off so he could then focus on attacking the East, the Soviet Union. Like, again, he was a strategist. Like, he had all this planned out, and he had backup plans in place. Like, he was, you act like he was not surprised by the fact, okay, maybe, who knows? Maybe he thought that England and France weren't actually going to hold up to that agreement with Poland. I guess you could possibly say that, but that is not what he is implying here. He is implying, like, Hitler was like, what? Why are you guys attacking? I don't understand at all. I'm just trying to be this peaceful guy. Like, I'm blah, blah, blah. Like, God, go get bent. You freaking moron. I am not. I really thought, like, this is just 11-minute video. I thought I was going to be able to actually make it through this, but I'm about ready to put my fist through this computer screen.
There's a famous scene where he kind of throws a fit when he finds out that they did do that. And
yes, yeah, and he did throw a fit because it wasn't because he was, like, shocked just out of nowhere that they were, that they were declaring war. He was throwing a fit because he didn't expect them to hold up to that agreement, but they did. And he was throwing a fit specifically because he wanted to then go invade the East. But now, with them declaring war, he realized that was going to make it a lot more difficult. So again, you're taking facts and like not just twisting them, but tying them into knots, smashing them into the ground, and then lighting them on fire and molding it into your own twisted, moronic mind. I can't even talk. Like this dude is just, I, this guy has made me more angry than any flat earther, young earth creationist, any of those people. Like this dude is, oh god.
So he doesn't want to fight France. He doesn't want to fight Britain. He feels that's going to weaken Europe when we've got this huge threat to the east, the communist threat over there.
That is not why he doesn't. No, he does. No, he doesn't want to fight them because he knows they could actually. That would draw troops away from him trying to take over. No, he doesn't give a crap about France and England. He wants to take over the East, gain as much manpower and power in general, and then come back and take over the rest of continental Europe. The only one he's not, the one he's most afraid of is the UK because they're the hardest ones to take over, really. But still, like, no, that's just no. The guy, this dude, this dude should be a politician because the way he can twist frickin' words around is unbelievable. Like, my God, how are you trying to sit here and make Hitler look like anything other than a despicable and disgusting piece of filth?
And he starts firing off peace proposals. He says, let's do this. Like, we can't do this. And of course, year goes by, 1940 comes around, and they're still at war. And so he launches his invasion to the west, takes over France, takes over Western and Northern Europe. Once that's done, and the British have, escaped at Dunkirk. There's no British force left on the continent. There's no opposing force left on the continent. In other words, the war is over, and the Germans won. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, the Germans won. We should just let Hitler do whatever he wants. Nothing bad would happen there. I'm sure the power hungry lunatic who can't even talk without screaming at the top of his lungs, I'm sure he would just stop right there and wouldn't try to go any farther. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what would have happened. Of course. The dude that's focused on making the ultimate race or whatever, he would have just left everyone else alone, and he would have just lived peacefully, happily ever after on some lovely little villa. And no, like, what are you on about, dude? Like, do you actually think before you talk? I mean, I know I ramble a lot, but this guy, it's like he's put thought into these crazy words that he says.
By what point?
Fall of 1940, right? So there's
Fall of 1940, huh? You realize that this evil Churchill guy, like, oh my God, he only became prime minister a few months before that, in fall of 1940. And then in the summer, but what about in the summer of 1940? You know what? Never mind.
There's literally no opposing force on the continent. And throughout that summer, Adolf Hitler is firing off radio broadcasts, giving speeches, literally sending planes over to drop leaflets over London and other British cities, trying to get the message to these people that Germany does not want to fight you.
While also bombing and them, and like, what? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, yes, he was doing that, but he's also actively fighting them. So what? Like, no, again, and all of this was just, dude, for one, it wouldn't have mattered what these little leaflets did regardless, because the entire country of the UK was rallied and ready to go. Like, they wanted to go there and just demolish Hitler. And so did pretty much the rest of Europe. Like, I mean, my God, dude. I don't know. All right, I'm stopping here. Look, if for some bizarre reason you want me to continue this and do the rest of the 6 minutes left, I guess I will. I can't. I'm done. Like this guy, it's one thing to be wrong. Like if you're wrong about something, that's fine. It happens. Everyone's wrong. I'm wrong about stuff all the time, pretty much every single day. But to sit there and somehow not only defend Hitler, but like try to make him out to be anything other than one of the worst human beings to ever exist is just disgusting. And then you're just sitting here saying Winston Churchill is somehow worse than him. Like, and again, I'm not like some Winston Churchill lover or something. Like, I mean, I think the dude did a great job. I mean, he literally rallied the entire country and 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 like brought them from this point of where they were basically about to be, destroyed, and brought them to victory. I mean, not him. I mean, again, I say him like it was obviously, his cabinet and there's generals and all that, blah 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 blah. But it was his leadership that inspired people, and he was, in my opinion, was a hero during World War II. Did he mess up in World War One? Yeah. Did he make plenty of other mistakes before and after? Absolutely. But he was also a very important part into stopping Hitler and his regime. And that should be celebrated, not, you know, demonized because of, I don't even know. I mean, most of your reason, he barely even got into why Winston Churchill was a bad guy. I mean, maybe he does in this second half, and I didn't get there, but pretty much the first half of this video was just him ass kissing Hitler, which is just, that's a phrase I never thought I would say in my life. But yeah, so I guess, like I said, if you want to see me do the rest of this, let me know in the comments below, and I will. Man, how do I end these? Dear Lord, this whole thing has my brain broken. Right, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time.